What's up, Freedom Fam? Welcome to our 3-month review of living on the road, living the full-time RV life. We are going to dive into the things we like best, things that are really hard about this life, the best modifications we've made, favorite places we've gone, future plans, all kinds of great, juicy things that you are not going to want to miss out on.
Juicy.
So stick around to the end of the video because we've got a lot of great stuff to share with you along the way.
And if you're first joining us on this journey here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And that way you can see all of the videos we have coming out. So a lot of good stuff coming this way.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to address is what are our overall thoughts on full-time RV life? No details or specifics, just overall thoughts. How do you feel about RV life?
I love it. It's been amazing. Obviously, there's been hard parts of it, but overall, highly recommend.
I would second that. I think that there are definitely some hard parts of it, and we'll get into that later in the video. But overall, I would say that I'm really, really enjoying it. It's a change of pace that I feel like we needed in our lives, and there's just so many good things have come out of this season and out of all the things that we've been able to do and all the things that we've learned. And so I love it overall.
Yeah, definitely. I guess so. Going along with that, the next question would be, what do you like more, living in an RV full-time traveling versus living in a sticks and bricks house?
Okay, so what do I like more? I would say that there's a lot that I actually like more about this lifestyle than the sticks and bricks life that we personally were living, and that's all I can really compare it to. So one thing that's incredible about this life is the ever-changing views. Some of the places we've gotten to visit and live, essentially, because wherever we park is where we're living, have been absolutely phenomenal. There was the Badlands of South Dakota. That was amazing. There was, we've had some like over the water views that have been incredible. We've also had some great views of like some different forests and fields, and just the views themselves have been incredible. So that has been one thing that I like a lot more than where we were living before. Another thing that I love more is that it's a lot more simple. You know, having a big house, I think one thing that we did a lot more in sticks and bricks world is that we shopped a lot more, we bought a lot more, and we were spending money on things and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas we hardly ever spend money on things and stuff now. So one is just the more simple, minimalistic way that we do live. But also just obviously like the experiences, the different things that we get to go do and see. We're getting to explore and adventure, which is a really, really big thing. And then a side note, like from like a mom wife view, is how easy it is to clean. Like it gets messy fast, but then it takes just a couple of minutes to like deep clean the whole house. So that's definitely a benefit.
For me personally, the thing I like more, absolutely 100%, this lifestyle versus the other, is time spent with family. Because I was working in the oil field, so I was putting in just absolutely crazy hours, and I never got to see you guys. So, and now we are 24/7 right by each other. And I know that's not how everyone likes to live their life, but we absolutely love it. We love spending every moment together as a family. So that's been absolutely the highlight of this season on the road, is being able to spend all the time together as a family, which we were never able to do. I don't have to put in a request to be able to spend time with my family. So
yes, that.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What have been some of the hard things about living in an RV and traveling full time?
Not going to sugarcoat it. There are hard things about living in an RV.
Yeah.
The biggest thing was just the adjustment of trying to remember everything that needs done living in an RV. Obviously, you have to modify how you live because everything's different. You can't just do dishes. You have to think about, because we do a lot of boondocking, you have to conserve every drop of water you can, not just because fresh water is limited, but also because your tank space is limited on your gray tanks. So like having to modify how you do everything. And that definitely took some adjusting. We did not do a good job of that at first, and constantly having to find ways to dump and just worrying, stressing about like how full our tanks were constantly. So it was a big adjustment there.
With that, getting used to our RV,
Yeah.
and like when this light goes off, we have about this much less, and just
Yes.
like that learning curve.
Just that adjustment was probably the hardest thing in my mind, and it was kind of stressful, because you want to make sure your family's taken care of, and you're not trying to. I don't. You just have to plan everything so much more of what you're doing, and making sure you have water available and propane available and all that to make sure your family has everything they need. So it was a huge adjustment. It was definitely stressful the first month getting the hang of everything on the road. So
that's really interesting for me to hear, because I was not stressed about that at all, because he handled it. And so just thank you, because you handled that and took all of that on, and it didn't even really impact my world. Like, I was trying to learn, make the adjustments from full-time living to, sticks and bricks living to RV living and whatnot, and teaching our 5-year-old to do it along with us.
Yeah.
But I wasn't stressed about it. So thank you for just carrying that for us.
Yeah, doing the late night freshwater runs because we run out of water and
Had a couple of those.
Go at 11 o'clock at night to go fill up jugs.
Yeah, and he would do it all. He's
stressful.
awesome. Yeah, okay, so other hard things about this. I would say another hard thing is that the very nature of driving your house down the road regularly leads to things breaking. Depending on the road that you're on, it can be a smooth ride, or it can be like driving your house through an earthquake.
Oh, there have been some awful ones.
We have been on some really bad roads, and so then, there was a while, and just getting things dialed in. There was a while where every single time we opened our pantry, something fell out and exploded. And so we would travel, we would get parked, we would open our pantries, something would fall out and explode, and then there's this huge mess to clean up, and that was just a part of getting set up. We've got our pantry dialed in now where that's not happening. And we also made a rule that Michael opens the pantry, because it always happened to me, not him.
So you just slide it open fast. You have to slow and get behind the door and make sure nothing's falling.
Yeah, I was just like, all right, let's see what the damage is. But things can break, and things do break. And so having that flexibility and that willingness to just kind of let those things roll off of you and just be like, okay, we're going to fix this, but it's okay. We can fix it.
Yeah.
So that is a little harder versus sticks and bricks living, just because in sticks and bricks, things break less often than they do in RV living.
Well, and if something breaks in your house, it's not usually a detrimental part of your life. You can still live your life in your house, whereas something in an RV breaks and you could have to find a place to live while you're getting it fixed, know. So
yeah, an example of that, our furnace broke when we were in New Hampshire. It was the first time we ever turned it on, so it was actually installed broken. Fortunately, we bought from Grand Design, and if we could give you one tip, it would be buy a Grand Design. Any of them, whatever fits your budget, your needs, buy Grand Design, because as a brand, they're incredible. Dealers, hit or miss, but the brand of Grand Design is phenomenal. So we contacted Grand Design about our furnace, and they actually put us up at a KOA in a cabin until it was fixed, and they paid for the repairs, paid for all, overnighted the part to us. But then because it fell over a weekend, and we were kind of in a remote place, overnight wound up taking 4 nights. And so, but they put us up for almost a week and just took care of us. So that made it less stressful. But again, even with that, it was getting cold at night. So then thinking about, okay, we're not going to be here with our trailer. It's getting cold at night. We were boondocking. And so it's how are we going to make sure that pipes aren't freezing? How are we going to make sure that everything stays good here? Where you actually were saying half an hour away from the RV. So there was just a lot more to think about with that.
Yeah. And I guess another thing to follow up on that is, no matter what RV you buy, there's going to be an adjustment period, and there's going to be things wrong with it when you first get it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the brand. Things will break when you're first getting out there in your RV. Things will have been installed incorrectly or not installed great. So it's just something you have to get in that mindset of, there's gonna be issues. Not everything's gonna be perfect getting out of the road. We have not talked to a single person who started on the road and it was just perfect for them.
I guess just a couple other things that are harder doing RV living versus sticks and bricks is we kind of touched on it, but just some of the day-to-day stuff, doing dishes is different and it's harder. You're doing it manually unless you wind up having a larger rig with a dishwasher. But even then, if you do have a dishwasher, you still have to take into consideration tank capacity, water capacity, all that stuff. So if you're doing full hookups all the time, then that's less of an issue, less of a concern. But if you're not doing full hookups all the time and you're doing more boondocking, you have to learn you have to relearn how to do things like taking a shower
Yeah.
and doing dishes. You have to relearn a lot of things. So there's definitely a learning curve. Okay, one more hard thing has been being away from friends and family. We have gotten to stop by and see some friends and family along the road, but it is hard to leave your friends and family that you are used to spending time with, and there is a separation. You definitely wind up building a community on the road, but that takes time. And there are ways that you can do it faster. One thing that I hear a lot of people talking about that we have not done is a lot of people talk about that if you get the 1,000 Trails membership, disclaimer, it's really expensive, but you can buy it used. So never buy it new. You can find used 1,000 Trails memberships that will save you some money, but it's still really expensive. The people who do 1,000 Trails say that that's where the majority of their community came from. The other thing that I'll recommend is look for rallies and meetups and go to them, because that's the best way to actually form community versus just expecting it to happen organically in parks, like in campgrounds. Like rather than just expecting that to happen organically, seek it out through rallies and meetups and things like that.
And social media.
Yeah.
We follow all the other full-time RVers on social media. We have connected with so many people through social media, and it's like we're traveling the same path as them and trying to arrange meetups and stuff like that. Everyone that we have talked to has been just amazing, and you find people that are basically in the same situation with you. We found a ton of people, couples our age with kids the same age, so that are interested in the same thing. You can find people that are living the exact same lifestyle as you, so you have everything in common with them. So definitely go through social media too.
And another tip that we'll give along with that piece of it is travel slower than you think you should. Like I would recommend honestly like 2 to 4 weeks in an area. We thought that a week in an area would be enough, and we just keep going. But now being 3 months in, I will tell you that I would recommend at least 2 to 4 weeks, if not even possibly doing like 3-month stints at a time in an area. And the reason for that is especially if you have kids. Like if it's just you and a spouse or just you traveling, this tip kind of flies out the window. But if you have kids, I know that my 5-year-old daughter wants friends and she wants to play with them. And so being in an area for a little bit longer, you have time to figure out like what are the play groups that are going to happen, what are the different activities that are going on, the different community things that are going on, and you're able to go and you're able to make some connections in that area, and you're able to spend some time with people. And so for her, like we've gone to stuff at local libraries, we've gone to stuff in parks, looking for different activities in an area, but that can really, like moving to a different area and then being there for a while and having time for normal paced life and normal paced activities like going to kids events and going to like the little special stuff that like libraries and whatnot will do, that makes a big difference.
And that was our original plan in getting on the road, was we're going to circle the entire country in 1 year. So we kind of planned it out where we want to hit these key spots throughout that year. So we didn't have much of a choice of slowing down. Our plans have changed now, and we'll talk about that later. But in our original plans, I mean, we did a lot of Boondockers Welcome, which is max 5 days at a time. So a lot of places we spent 5 days and that was it. And we had to move on because that was all the time we had there. But that was our original plan, to make it around the country in 1 year and see as much as we could. And it was exhausting, like absolutely exhausting. So getting to the point where we're slowing down, absolutely, if you can, if you're full-time, you're not on a schedule like that, take your time at each place. It makes a world of difference, and it makes it so much more enjoyable when you're able to slow down, you're able to explore an area more, you're able to have some just a bit more normal life in the RV. Because before we get to a place and we have to explore every day because we have such limited time there. So essentially our RV was just for sleeping. And especially with having a kid, you really want that stability and that normal life of being able to settle down, have time at home with your kids. So definitely would recommend, if possible, take it slower.
It's so funny because when we were making our plans, we heard multiple full-timers be like, take it slow down, travel slower. And we're like, okay, so like a week in this area versus like the 2 to 3 days we think we'll need. No, like that's why I'm telling you, I would, especially if you have kids, I would recommend 2 to 4 weeks minimum and then do more. Okay, what we wish we'd known before doing full-time RV living.
I don't know, because we did so much research before actually getting on the road. I mean, granted, we still had a big adjustment on the road, but yeah, I don't know that there's really anything that I wish I knew. It was all things that I just had to experience to learn once I was out there. I don't know that there's anything particular that I wish I had learned before getting on the road, though.
I think I would agree with that for the most part. I think that one, having lived in an RV before, we had really good expectations of what to expect. And our trailer now is so much nicer than what we were living in that time around. We had a 1987 Winnebago Chieftain. So it had 0 slide outs. It was just like a straight shot. So I think that having had that experience and then moving into something even nicer than what we had before, that helped a lot, because setting our expectations and just knowing what to expect going in. Like, we came in knowing how to do tank care and tank management. Yeah. We came in knowing how to handle power and all of that stuff in the trailer. This one actually has 2 working AC units, whereas our other one had one that worked half the time and the other one was broken. Just things like that. So, I think that for us, that was a big factor in us having really good expectations, is we had already lived in one. Yeah. I think another thing, like you said, is that we literally sat and binge watched several different full-timers channels, and just did a lot of research and a lot of studying. And then we also really put a lot of thought into our plans and where we wanted to go. We went on the road with our first 6 months completely planned out. Yep. Pros and cons to that. You feel like you have to stick to the schedule. You can't really get into it and then decide, okay, this is too fast, like let's hit the brake or whatever. But then also, you have places to stay and you have that all lined up, and you're not going to want that running into, well, all the places we would want to stay are booked and, don't have any rooms. We either stay somewhere that's not at the level we would want, or way too expensive. Yeah. So I guess not the level we would want on either end. So, there's just, that's a factor there, but plenty of people do it both ways. Some people plan a year in advance, and then some people don't plan anything, and both love it. It's just what works for you. But yeah, I would say for the most part, there's not really anything I wish I'd known. Yeah. I guess the only thing that I would say I wish I had known was how the pacing that we planned for would actually feel, but there's no way to know that ahead of time. Exactly. But I wish that I had known that our preference would be to slow down more. But then again, with everything we wanted to accomplish in the first 3 months, there wasn't really a way for us to slow down. Yeah, we had set things along the way that we had to get to, so we were kind of forced to go at the pace we did at the beginning. Balance seasons of busy with a season of slow. Yeah. What are some of the favorite things that we have done while being on the road? Y'all, this is such a big question, because again, we had a really busy first 3 months. So for me, I really wanted to see fall in New England, which was phenomenal. We were in New Hampshire for most of it. It was incredible. So that was definitely one thing. But the biggest thing for me, I am a big history nerd. I geek out over history so much. So we prioritized a lot of historical things throughout this first 3 months. And just that history loving side of me, some of the things that we have gotten to do just like humble me. I particularly love like Revolutionary War era history. And then, it's just incredible. So like, this is Battle of 1812, but we got to stand in the Smithsonian building and look at the actual flag that flew over Fort McHenry when Francis Scott Key wrote the national anthem. Actual flag. We got to see the Star Spangled Banner. Yeah, like that. I cried. I'll be real. I cried. It was so emotional. We got to, in Colonial Williamsburg, we went to George Wythe's house, which was George Wythe's actual house. And George Wythe is awesome. But when George Washington was planning the Battle of Yorktown, which was the turning point to the end of the war and basically the last major battle, he stayed in George Wythe's house, and they're like, this is the bedroom he slept in, and you're standing in the bedroom that George Washington slept in. We got to go to Yorktown and actually like walk in the steps of the Continental Army. We got to see where Alexander Hamilton actually stormed Redoubt 10 and where that battle actually happened. And so like you're standing there like, oh my goodness, like this is it. This is what is happening. Like that stuff's incredible. We've stood in one of George Washington's war tents. We saw another one. Like just stuff like that is insane. Some of the things we've gotten to do. But that for me, like those things are my favorite things that we've gotten to do. What about you? Is there anything I left out?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the history side of stuff is the top of my list. It always has been when we travel. That's always the point of us traveling, is to explore history wherever we are. But I would say that aside, because that's the obvious number one, I would say my next favorite thing we did was actually the Grand Design Rally.
Yeah.
That was incredible. It was just like a whole community of like-minded people getting together. I mean, there was 600 plus RVs there, and so I don't know how many thousand people, and you're just hanging out with people that have the exact same interests and joys as you, and you're getting to know all these people, and it's such an amazing community. And you get to connect with people, and then you keep in touch with them on social media, and it's awesome because they become kind of a springboard for questions, because you meet people that have been doing it for 15, 20 years, full-time RVing. So if you have a question about your RV, you just shoot them a message, especially since, I mean, we were at a Grand Design specific rally, so these people all have Grand Designs. We've, are keeping in touch with people that have the exact same RV as us. So it makes it, you get that friendship, but then you also get all this advice that goes along with it. So that was amazing. And then it's just a blast being there. It's just like a massive party for a week, and just incredible. So I would say obviously all the history stuff, but then that Grand Design Rally was probably my number two of what we did. So I would say those are probably I mean, there's so many things that I would list as my favorite. Basically everything we've done has been my favorite thing, but those are the two that stand out to me right now.
All right, what are some of the best modifications we've made to the trailer to make full-time living easier and better?
Well, I would say the number one modification that I think everybody should do is the RV locks. The RV locks are the top thing in my mind, just for security and safety, especially since, you're going to be leaving your RV and exploring areas. Because the thing with RVs is a lot of them are actually keyed the same. So there's a high likelihood that somebody has a key that will actually work in your RV. So getting those RV locks, it was the first modification that we did. And in my mind, it was one of the most important that we did, just for safety and security. So getting those swapped out, super easy to do. And then you just have that peace of mind that nobody can access your RV, which was very nice, took a lot of stress off of us. So that's probably my number one top, like, do this modification. And then I would say the second one that in my mind is probably one of the more important ones is getting the electrical management system installed. A lot of people, you'll hear everyone talk about getting a surge protector, which is highly recommended. So a lot of the campsites you go to, if you are hooking up, they just don't have very trustworthy electrical. You can get surges, you can get low amperage coming in there, and so everyone will tell you to get a surge protector, but the thing with a surge protector is it's not full protection. If you get a surge of electricity, it'll protect your appliances by kicking it off, but running on low amperage can actually be way more dangerous for your appliances, because that constant low draw is going to wear all of your appliances out so fast if they're not being able to run on full power. So getting a full electrical management system that you hardwire into your RV, it's super simple, like the one we did, 3 wires. You disconnect from the back of your circuit board, plug it in, and then connect the 3 wires. So it just goes right in line, and you just have that peace of mind that it'll just shut off if anything's going wrong. And it's going to protect all of your appliances, which is, I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars in appliances if we had to replace them. So that was probably, I would say, RV locks for safety and security, and then the electrical management system for protecting your RV overall from any electrical issues are probably my two top mods that we've done.
Yeah. I would say another really big one is just as far as like safety and functionality side would be a water filtration system. We'll link to the one that we have down in the comments, but when I tell you we've seen some really janky water, we have seen some really janky water. Just because they say they have water does not mean that it's good. Make sure that you have a water filtration system.
So I know one of the big questions people ask all the time, and that we can address here, is what are some good money-saving tips for being on the road? Like, what are the things we have found for the best ways to find deals on the road?
Yeah. Okay. So we have several that we use all the time. Number one is that we have primarily stayed at Boondockers Welcome locations, and that has saved us a ton of money. The places we have stayed have been free to, a lot of times it's like $10 a night. A lot of those have included at least electrical. Most of them have had water. We have one or two places had a dump station that we could use, which is really nice. But they're phenomenal places. They're some of our favorite locations we've stayed. What we have found is that we love the Boondockers Welcome because one, they feel more like home. Two, it's just so much more peaceful. Like when you're in a park and you're just like all parked right next to each other, it's so much louder. There's so much more commotion versus when you're at somebody's home, it tends to be way more quiet and peaceful. So and you have more space generally. So we like staying at Boondockers Welcome, and it really is our preference. Like we've talked about that over and over and over again. Boondockers Welcome is our preference. But anyways, that's the main way we've saved money. Another way we've saved, go ahead.
Yeah, and to go along with that, in case you're not familiar with Boondockers Welcome, so you pay an annual subscription to be a part of Boondockers Welcome, and then any place you stay is free to stay there. So that's one of the requirements, is they have to offer a space for you to stay for free. If you use any hookups that are available, then they may charge you for the night anywhere we found from $5 to $15 per night, depending on what hookups are there and what hookups you use. You can stay at any of these places for free, no matter what, but if you use any of the hookups, they do require you to pay.
I have seen one
I was just going to say, we
that
did
said
have one.
They require people use their hookups.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's technically above board with Boondockers Welcome or not, but it was nice that we had hookups there, so we didn't care.
Yeah.
And we would have probably used them anyways, but yeah, definitely. Another way that we save a lot of money is we have multiple fuel savings apps that we use.
Yep.
And we actually have three. We use Gas Buddy, Upside, and the TSD Open Roads. And we'll link to all three down in the description for you.
You want all three.
You want all three. And the reason why, a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, on Gas Buddy I was only going to save 10 cents, but on TSD I was going to save 70 cents. Okay, but what we have found is look at the price you're going to pay. Because yes, TSD might be saving you 70 cents, but there was one place in Idaho where we wound up using TSD. It was our first time using it. It was the only one we had at that time. This is when we downloaded Gas Buddy. We wound up using it, but we noticed like on the way to the station we were going to, where we were going to save 70 cents a gallon off of diesel, that a lot of gas stations that we were passing were advertising their diesel for cheaper than the savings price we were going to pay, and that was without a discount. And we're like, what in the world is going on here? And then we downloaded Gas Buddy, and a lot of those that had cheaper price to begin with, we could have saved an additional 7 cents or 15 cents or whatever with Gas Buddy.
Yeah, because what we found is that TSD app, the people that it's contracted with are like the big truck stops like Love's and those, which is nice if you're driving an RV because you know you can fit there. But a lot of times those places charge way more because they know they're the only place where these truckers can go. So they jack the price up. So even though you're getting a discount, you're still paying more than the other places nearby.
Right. So what we actually do is we actually compare between the three, and we find the best deal, really for the best deal within the perimeter that we're willing to go across the three. And that's my job. He always drives, so that's my job as the navigator to check those and have those on my phone. And honestly, it's not hard to check all three, and it's saved us a lot of money on fuel.
Yeah.
So that's definitely another one. So Boondockers Welcome, and then fuel savings.
Yeah, and a little tip to go along with that fueling: try and fuel up before your travel days. That way you don't have your RV hooked up. So that way you're open to any of them. It doesn't matter if it's just a little tiny gas station in the middle of nowhere. You don't have your trailer on, so you can get into it. That's been one of the big tips that we follow too. I guess another big money-saving tip that I would say is look for your county and state and city parks to camp in versus RV resorts and RV parks. RV parks are typically, I mean, we've seen anywhere from $75 to $200+ a night. When you look at a lot of state parks, federal parks, you're gonna be saving a ton of money staying at theirs. Because I've seen anywhere, I mean, and they don't always have hookups. Sometimes you're boondocking at these, so you have to weigh if that's something you're set up for and want to do. But I've seen anywhere from like $8 a night up to like $45, maybe $50 a night for full hookups at some of these city parks. So
Yeah.
definitely check out city and county parks. Look at whatever state you're going to be staying in. You can go, and county, you can go to their state and county parks websites to find these local campgrounds and save a ton of money that way.
Yeah. You just really have to think, like, one of the things I talk about with full-time RV living versus sticks and bricks living is that it's not necessarily cheaper, and honestly it can be way more expensive depending on how you do it. But you're not really going to save money because you're just swapping. So instead of paying rent or a mortgage, you're paying campground fees. And if you have a loan on your trailer, then you're also paying your loan. And so you got your loan plus possibly your loan plus your campground or parking fees. Instead of paying for electric and trash pickup, again, that can be tacked into the park that you're staying at, or you're paying for dumping your tanks, you're paying for propane, like you're paying just there's all these other costs, so like don't think about it as you're going to save so much money. You absolutely can.
Yeah.
I know some people who basically go on BLM land where they can park anywhere, find a spot to park, and they stay there for months, and they're fully like, they have the composting toilets and they do all that stuff. And if that's you, then awesome. Those people basically live for free, which is awesome. So yeah, they're saving money. So if that works for you, then do that. But if you're like, no way, that's not me, like, that's not me. I'll own that. That's not me. That's not what I want to do. And so for me, we're not going to do that. I'll do Boondockers Welcome and I'll do boondocking, but just having a family and trying to do all that stuff, like I do want a certain level of comforts. I'm not one of the, I have to have full hookups every single night, like kind of person. We've barely had full hookups. Yeah. It's so nice when you do. But at the same time, when you look at the cost of having full hookups full time, it's expensive.
Yep.
If you can get into those month rates at different parks, then it makes it a lot more affordable. But if you're traveling at the pace we have and you're paying per night or even per week, it gets expensive fast.
Definitely.
Looking at different options for how to keep your stay cheaper, because if you're talking $30 a night times 30 days and 30 nights in a month, that's going to start adding up fast. If you're talking $50 a night, $100 a night, like you've really got to pay attention to that piece of it, because that will make your costs skyrocket faster than anything.
Yeah, that's why we love breaking everything up with Boondockers Welcome. And getting those 5 nights for free at a time, chunks here and there.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Another way we've saved money is the National Parks Pass.
Yes. Oh,
to put that out there real fast. That pass has been incredible. We look for the national parks things, and it's not just the big national parks, but it's national monuments and different like national museums and different attractions like that too. So getting the National Parks Pass, being aware of where all you're able to use it along your travels, and then doing those things. All right, so we've talked about the pros, we talked about the cons, some of our tips. Big question, rewind to when we were making this decision. If you knew everything you know now 3 months in, would you still choose to go on this adventure? Would you still choose this lifestyle, or would you choose something different?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. Especially knowing what I know now, it would make it even that much more enjoyable getting started. So I would say I'd be more gung-ho and into it than I was at first. I mean, obviously there was the learning curve to begin with, but as soon as you get everything figured out and you start getting a rhythm of everything, it's an amazing, amazing lifestyle to be in. So 100% would do it again.
I would absolutely do it again. You can't, there's nothing like it. There's nothing else like this. And it's so incredibly rewarding. And all of the things that we've gotten from this year, like there's been a lot of hard, even like something we didn't talk about, it's harder to make an income. Depending on what you do, it can be harder to make an income because you can't just like go get a job or whatever. And it's harder to find job opportunities and whatnot. So you want to make sure that like you have that on lockdown before you go. A lot of things are harder about this. That said, the rewards are so big and so good that I would do all the hard all over again. I would restart knowing nothing.
Yeah.
All right, so future plans for us. We are currently in Georgia. We're like southwest of Atlanta in that area. And we had a work opportunity come up that we're going to be taking advantage of for the next 6 to 7 months, honestly. So for a little while here while Michael, it's a work opportunity for Michael. For a little while here while he's learning this job, we're going to be stationary in this area southwest of Atlanta, and probably for about 3 months. And then we'll have a few trips here and there, like we're going to Disney and stuff like that. But while he's learning the job, we'll be stationary here. And then we're actually going to travel around travel around Georgia for his job opportunity. So we'll be in Georgia for the next 6 to 7 months. After that, we don't really know. We
Still
might,
RVing. We're going to be
yes,
taking the RV to different job locations all around
Yeah.
Georgia and staying at different campgrounds around. So
yes, it's going to be awesome. We're going to take you along for that journey. So we're really excited to really get to dig into just Georgia and learn a lot more about this state and all the fun things that are here. One of the people that we love to follow is Wandering Weekends, and he lives in Georgia and he does weekend camping in Georgia. And so we've seen a lot of the cool places that he's gone. So we're excited to get to kind of dig in and explore Georgia and whatnot. So we're going to be here for the next probably 6 to 7 months and just really exploring this area. We're going to be exploring what work camping looks like. And so he'll be working while we're camping. So you'll get to learn more. We've done the whole like just full-time travel, all of our income's online stuff. Now we're going to take advantage of a work camping opportunity that has come up. So you'll get to see both from us, and we'll be able to compare and contrast the two and the benefits of each.
Yeah.
So stick around, make sure you subscribe, because we're going to have a lot of great stuff coming out about what it looks like to look for a work camping opportunity, some of the different work camping opportunities that are out there, and then what it looks like to live that lifestyle. Make sure you subscribe, ring that notification bell. We've got a lot of great stuff coming.
Yeah, and one other thing, going back to the community, we love the RV community, and so make sure you subscribe so you can stay connected with us. But also, if you have any questions about RV life, what it's like, something we didn't address here, something you want to see us address in more detail, drop it in a comment down below. We love engaging and answering your questions. Like, seriously, every single question we will answer. We get back to everyone that leaves comments and reaches out to us. So make sure you reach out, drop a comment down below, ask us any questions you have about the lifestyle, anything, money, RV life, mods, whatever you want to talk about. We are open for it. So,
and we'll drop links to all of the products and all the different things and apps and whatnot we've talked about in here. All of our recommended apps and products will be down in the description. So make sure you check the description for those links and get yourself set up.
yeah.
We'll even link a couple things that we love that we didn't talk about. Have a great day, and we will see you next time. A lot of things are harder about this. Donkeys.